All right, welcome back to SOS. I'm Stas Arm Badass. Today I wanted to talk about what does it mean? You know, a lot of people are asking me now, what does it mean for government shutdown? What takes place and stuff like that? And this is part of my Sunday rant. Sometimes I do it on here, sometimes I do it somewhere else. But today, um, I've been asked a few times from several different people. Uh, what does it all mean, kind of thing. People that really might not have paid much attention to it before and want to talk about it now. You get that. You get that from people. They don't really understand what a government shutdown means, and I totally get it. I had been affected by a government shutdown while I was in the military. Some of you probably had the same experience. The same experience with that, and it was some crazy stuff when you find out, wait a minute, Uncle Sam might not pay me. All right. So the deal that's going on now, the you've got Democrats and Republican, you got the Senate, and people, to make a vote, and they don't see eye to eye on certain things, they can say, no, I'm not going to do this, and then they're not going to participate. So they have to see eye to eye on certain things. And if they can't reach to an agreement, I'm not going to take sides in this battle. For those of you out there that would expect me to pick a side on this, but if they can't reach a decision, many moons back we had another situation like this, and it was for some ridiculous stuff that they actually decided to shut down the government for. But today's battle, what we're dealing with now, is immigration. One of them's child health insurance is the other one, and then you've got your disaster aid. And the disaster aid is the big push for the Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands, all the different disasters that we've had. Now, everybody knows by now, probably there is some major importance there. We've got Puerto Rico, they've been bailed out several times. Now they're in a disaster. It's even worse now. So we all know the pharmaceuticals, like I think it's 80%, 60%, something like that, of pharmaceuticals come from there. Like I've just mentioned, in a podcast a couple of weeks ago, that your saline bags, we have a shortage of them in the United States because they actually come from Puerto Rico. But them being hit and the distribution from them has come to a heaping halt. It has affected us, especially with the flu going on. We've got the huge thing with flu, and the CDC's jumping in on the whole flu ordeal. And but anyway, I'm digressing. I'm rambling about Puerto Rico now. But the Dems want this agreement on disaster aid and all this other stuff. They won't meet the agreement with immigration, and so it comes to a halt, and government funding comes to a halt. And those that are affected are listed as non-essential. So they furlough those people. I don't mean to stuff them into a hole or anything, but they furlough those people. It's like I said, many moons ago when we had a government shutdown, over 850,000 federal employees were deemed non-essential. And this went into the list of IRS, and another one that was on the list was NASA. Now, everyone's talking about yes, there's a meteor headed towards Earth, and blah 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 blah, and oh no, NASA's been deemed non-essential, and they won't be at work, and they won't see this coming. And so there's already people talking about that now. Oh no, we're gonna get hit by a giant meteor. Oh well. What are they going to do anyways? Hey, there's a meteor. I mean, what are they going to do anyways? But it's supposed to come really close to the Earth, and everyone's totally freaking out about that now. But look, man, Just take one life one day at a time, right? But there's so many different job descriptions, and you'll still get your mail. The post office will still run. A lot of places like that. It's kind of like with the military, for example. I'm going to tell you how it was affecting a lot of people in the military. Now, government employees, I'll get to them in a minute. The thing with us is we basically had an IOU. It was, look, you might not get paid, and it literally got to the point it was payday, no one got paid, and other banks. There's certain banks out there, and that are affiliated. Like if you're like Navy Federal and stuff like that, Navy Federal Credit Union, all the different like Pacific Marine Credit Union and stuff like that. I can name a few. If you're connected with them, they'll send you an email saying, hey, look, we know you're military and we're going to go on and pay you, and when you get paid, we'll get our money back. You'd be amazed at how many banks actually do that. But that's what had happened. We did not get paid, and the banks actually jumped in and paid us so we could just keep doing what we're doing until the government shutdown was over. That happens. And not only did it affect us, but people that are no longer in the military, it affected. Like those that get veterans veterans benefits and things like that. Your compensation benefits had come to a stop. Your Social Security had, for a lot of people, SSI and things like that. All your different platforms for that, had been affected. The retirement, different types of situations for retirement. Retirees, that were prior government employee type deals. Those had been affected. Those had come to a stop. But a lot of people were affected by it. It happened, and it was over something silly. I can't even remember what it was, but I think it was so silly and controversial that I probably don't even want to talk about it right now. But that was the last one. That was the big one that actually did affect a lot of people. But it was government shut down for a very long time when that happened. It wasn't like a couple of days or anything. This was on a couple of weeks or so. So once we get beyond that stage, excuse me, that's when you need to get worried about it. All right, with military, now keeping a fresh batch of kids in, and the training that goes into each individual person that's in the military. Like their specific job skill is one thing. That's what they do. That's what they're really good at. They're sharp at it, but they just don't get promoted and move up in the ranks and yada yada, and they end up leaving. Now, we were experiencing a lot of that flux, and I think it's still happening to this day. They just they could do their job great, but some other skills they lacked a lot. And so what the government had started doing was, some of these individuals, they would take them in to a government contracted job. They weren't good at certain things, like maybe they had behavioral issues. They I don't know what it was. They just did not want to serve anymore. That was a lot of them. Okay, let's not get too down the rabbit hole for this one. But some of them just did not want to serve anymore. This isn't for me. I want to have a life. Kids, all that stuff. Some of them have that mentality, so they don't continue the rat race, and so they hire them on as a civilian contractor, and that contract's filled by a company. That company can be furloughed, tossed to the side, and while they basically don't get a check, they don't get paid. They'll get IOUs, they just don't get paid. So sometimes they get sent home. They don't get to stay. they don't get to work, and that happens. They only get allotted. We only have this much money in our budget to cover these many people, so the rest of you are going to have to go home. That starts to take effect, and it gets much worse until there's just no budget left at all, and then the last man leaves. So the person running the contract is actually gone. So until the shutdown's over, and it's like, hey, well, guys, you can all come back now. Okay, you know what I mean? But that's, I mean, I'm not sure where unemployment picks up for people like that, but to keep knowledge and experience in the military, all this experience that we lose every year, we, the military, not we, but the military will hire contractors to fill those suits, very knowledgeable, know their stuff, and actually sit and teach other individuals that are new and fresh in the military and showing them the correct ways of doing stuff, where, it's just, and if it wasn't for them, a lot of this stuff doesn't get taught unless they're, salty, old military service member. It doesn't matter what branch you are, and you still like to get dirty. You still do the rest of the work just like everybody else. If you're one of those individuals, then you're still teaching constantly, still showing them the right way of doing stuff. Some people, they started to slip. So that's kind of where all this started. The thing is, when a government shutdown takes place, you start to lose all those experienced people, and all you're left with is the remains. And that's when, guess what? All the people that thought they were too good to work, some of your higher ups that thought that they'd never do it, are out there doing it, and they're being forced to do it, and it got strict. I sat and watched, didn't affect me none, didn't affect me none. That's the reason why I was called BA. It didn't affect me none. But some other people, let's just say, had to roll their sleeves up and get back to work. Let's just say that. So no more sipping coffees and smoking stogies in the break area and just throwing it out there. They had to go get some. No more hanging out in the smoke pit. But that's kind of what happened during the last major shutdown that we had. So a lot of people, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. It can be a good thing because it will bring on the harsh reality for a lot of government employees and give them that reminder of, hey, what? Some of them that are new to it, they've never experienced it before. And then the ones that have experienced before, they already have a contingency plan in place probably. I'm just saying, if I was still in, I would already have a contingency plan for that in place in the event that it happened. Hey, wait, we probably won't get paid. Well, we did save up for it, so you know what I mean. And but there's other government programs out there that still take place, that don't shut down, and they're volunteer work. It's volunteers that run. Man, you're there's different food banks and stuff like that help the military, and the military's the reason why WIC was invented. WIC was actually invented for military personnel in the beginning. The initial purpose of that for families that experience something like this, or basically they don't really get paid so much money. But this is how I can relate to this topic. For those of you wondering why I'm probably rambling on about the military, is connected to the government, and that's how it affects them. That's what's affected. You still get your mail. I don't know if postal carriers get IOU paychecks and things like that. I don't know how their pay system works. I couldn't tell you, but I do know a lot of non-essentials. Most parks and recreational facilities and things like that remain open with the guidance of like one gatekeeper or something like that. It's the amount of sources that go into that also are not just federal employee, but it leads into state. So most of those people will be connected with state. And when it gets hard enough times, it starts to affect the state, and then the state employees get affected by it as well. But anything federal gets affected first. So keep all that stuff in mind. That's it in a nutshell, pretty much. But this is the beginning of it, and that's what you can expect if it goes on too long. So I hope this helps. Keep us a little bit of food for thought. Man, I hope I answered a couple of questions on that. If not, just comment below, and I'll help you out the best I can with what I can remember from it. So you're watching SOS. I'm Staff Sergeant Badass. Have a beautiful, fabulous, fantastic day, and take it easy. God bless you guys, and I love you.